What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. Welcome to my channel as Rivalry Week, Week 13 predictions continue on my channel. We only got one for you today, and it's going to be the one in the swamp. We're going to preview the matchup in Gainesville, Florida. Possible trap game from a college football playoff contender for the Florida State Seminoles. They'll be without Jordan Travis. They're going to go against the feisty Florida Gators, who are on a losing streak, but they need this one in order to make bowl eligibility. But they also will be without their quarterback in Graham Mertz. We're going to unpack everything Seminoles and Gators here in this video. But before we do that, just got to say thank you for all the support the channel has seen as of late. And if you want to show your support, hey, just interact with the channel any way you can. And you're already doing one way right now just by watching the video. But any other way you help interact with the channel helps to support it. Obviously, the biggest way is hitting that red subscribe button and ringing the bell so you know when videos get uploaded. But you can also like, you can comment, you can share. And again, I'll emphasize anything you do to interact with the channel helps to support what I do here on YouTube, and it does mean a lot to me, whatever you guys are able to provide. But that's enough about me, and that's enough about how you can support the channel. Let's dive on in to Florida State versus Florida in the swamp. Everything on the line here for both of these two teams, but in very different fashions, right? Florida State's obviously a player to get into the college football playoff, but they have had a major setback with the injury to Jordan Travis. Meanwhile, Florida's trying to play their way into bowl eligibility. Let's take a look at the stats both these teams have put up so far this season. We will start with the team that is trying to get into the college football playoff, and they're the road team. In this matchup, that's the Florida State Seminoles. Now, this is going to be their first game where Jordan Travis will not be their starter. With Jordan Travis as their starter, I mean, they have been really, really good so far this season. 451 yards per game. The passing attack is really flowing, and you have a ton of weapons to throw to. Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell, Kyle Morlock, Ja'Kai Douglas, and even Trey Benson and Lawrence Toafili out of the backfield can be very reliable options catching the football. But those last two guys I just mentioned, Trey Benson and Lawrence Toafili, are absolute units running the football for this team. They have done some really, really nice things all season long for a Florida State rushing attack that's averaging 162 yards per game. And with Jordan Travis at the helm, he only has thrown 2 interceptions on the year, and this is the Florida State team that, ball carrying wise, only 3 fumbles lost. That is only 5 turnovers. They're a pretty efficient team on third down with some inconsistencies thrown in there, but overall 41.1%, not a bad number to have at all. And it's an offensive line that, yes, can have their moments where they relinquish a sack here and there, but for the most part, this is a really, really, really good offensive line. And this is an offense that, led by Jordan Travis, has done really nice things this year. Well, they're not going to be led by Travis in this game. They're going to be led by Tate Rodemaker, 20 of 31 for 376 yards, 5 touchdowns, no picks for Rodemaker on the year. Now, Rodemaker does not have to come into this game and be Jordan Travis. In fact, I wouldn't think any Seminole fans are even expecting him to do that. He does have to come in and be good enough, though. He has to come in and do the things that Jordan Travis has done all season long. Make the occasional chunk yardage plays and don't turn the football over. Those are the big keys there for Tate Rodemaker, but mainly just be smart and keep the offense moving at a pretty good pace here, because this is a Florida State defense that absolutely can stop anything it throws. Now, anything that you're able to throw at it. Now, I know the rush defense has had some problems this year. Same thing with the passing defense. However, both numbers are still pretty freaking good. They're a pretty solid defense, and yes, they have a tendency to bend, but not a lot of times do they break, especially on third down. This is one of the best third down defenses in the country, and even if they bend, and even if you get across midfield on this team, they'll force turnovers. They'll generate pressure. This is a team that can do anything defensively, and they're very, very versatile. They can throw a lot of different looks at you, not only with the defensive front and with the pass rush, in which you got to watch out for guys like Kalen DeLoach with 7 sacks, Jared Verse, and Joshua Farmer, both of the latter two guys with 4.5 sacks on the season. But you also got to watch out for players in this secondary: Renardo Green, Fentrell Cypress, and so many other Jarian Jones there as well. He leads the team with 3 picks, and so many other very, very talented defensive backs that can make plays on the football. Now, Florida has been a fairly effective offense this season as well, with a couple of hiccups. They've been able to drive down the field, especially on the ground. A phenomenal 1-2 punch in the running back room with Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. Both of them 710 yards on the season. However, 8 touchdowns for Etienne, 4 touchdowns for Montrell Johnson. That's kind of where the separation comes into play when you are talking about those two guys, right? But the pass game and Graham Mertz transferring in, Graham Mertz has really proved himself. He has really showed that, hey, this is what happened at Wisconsin is not truly who Graham Mertz is. This is the true Graham Mertz that we've seen at Florida. However, he also is not going to be playing in this game. Max Brown came in the game against Missouri. He was pretty darn good. I believe it was 4 or 5 for 56 yards, something like that. Gave Florida a shot to win the game. Missouri just ended up doing a little bit too much. Now, doesn't have a touchdown, doesn't have a pick, but I'm one to believe that Max Brown is a very talented option. He may be again, hard to tell really the comparison between him and Mertz, but Max Brown will be in as the starter for this team. He has a lot of weapons in the backfield, does have Ricky Pearsall and some other wide receivers that he can work with, but the inconsistency with this offense has been on third down, and can the offensive line give him time to be able to make some plays? That's going to be a huge factor in whether or not Max Brown and the Florida Gator offense is able to have a successful day, especially against the defense like Florida State. And speaking of defense, the Florida Gator defense has stepped it up in ways this season. Now, yes, overall, they have struggled in the rush defense department. 161 rush yards per game is not a great number to have. And then their secondary at times, while being fairly aggressive at times, that can hurt them in allowing the big plays. And they're not really as ball hawking as a lot of other SEC secondaries. Only 29 pass defended and 3 picks, which, yeah, the 29 pass defended especially might seem like a solid number. When you compare that to a lot of defenses around the country, though, that's definitely a number that is a lot lower than you might think it is when you first hear it. And again, as I've talked about, this rush defense has been pretty suspect. However, the pass rush does have a tendency to get home, especially with Princely Uman Mielen, really good pass rusher there out of the SEC ranks. This is going to be a very intriguing game. Let's dive on into what to watch for. They are your keys to the game, really whatever you want to call them. It's just some things I think you should keep an eye on when and / if you pay attention to this one, and you should. I think it's going to be a very entertaining contest. It's Rodemaker's show now as we enter the keys for the Florida State Seminoles. With Jordan Travis out, Rodemaker is the guy at quarterback for Florida State. Now, there is some things going around that, hey, maybe a guy, my apologies, like Brock Glenn, maybe another freshman, might get some playing time. I believe it's going to be Tate Rodemaker that starts. And again, I'll say it. I've said it before. I'll say it again. All he has to do is be good enough to lead this offense and be efficient enough offensively for this Florida State team to put enough points on the board. And even if they had Jordan Travis here, this is the Florida defense that has struggled at being consistent to slow really, really good offenses down, which is what Florida State has. They have a lot of very good offensive weapons. It's up to Rodemaker to take advantage of all of that. And look, Rodemaker does not have to do it all himself. Yes, he has a lot of very talented weapons in the wide receiver room to work with, but as I've talked about before, the rush game is going to help. Trey Benson has been running really well this year, has 11 rushing touchdowns, and we'll see if Rodemaker flashes the ability with the legs at all. I don't expect him to, especially with the talent they have in this running back room. But again, Rodemaker, a lot of it is on him to just be efficient enough, be smart, and be good enough to be able to lead this offense down the field on maybe a half, if not 2/3 of the scoring drives. Now, if Rodemaker shows out, Florida State will say, heck yes, buddy, you pop off. However, Rodemaker does not have to do that in order for Florida State to win this game because of the tendency with Florida to turn the football over. And we don't know if Max Brown is going to be able to limit the turnovers, if he's going to be a turnover machine. That was something that Graham Mertz really did well. Only 3 interceptions this year. He really limited those during his, or I should say, compared to his time at Wisconsin. However, fumbles have been a problem for Florida this season, and Florida State, they have a lot of big bodies that can strip the football away from you. Florida is going to have to hold on to the football in this game. It's also a Florida defense that doesn't force turnovers, so That's another leg up for the Seminoles in this game. But really quickly running through things here with the Florida Gators. Max Brown is going to prove his worth in this game. Not worths, he's going to prove his worth. So ignore the S there. That is a typo on my part. But Max Brown is going to prove his worth. Again, I happen to think he's a really solid option at the quarterback position. He has the run game to be able to help him with guys like Johnson and ETN, and much like Florida State, you probably don't have as talented of a wide receiver room as Florida State does. It's just really hard to match, but you do have a go-get-it guy with Ricky Pearsall. Eugene Wilson is another very good option, and you have a ton of other weapons that you can work with. And again, all Max Brown has to do, much like Rodemaker, is be good enough to lead this Florida offense down the field, because I do think the run game is going to have its moments where it runs really, really well. But speaking of the run game, if you are Florida, you want to make Tate Rodemaker win the game. Now, in order to do that, the secondary is going to have to step up and play really well as well, but load up against the run. If you can slow down what Florida State's able to do on the ground, or maybe not slow down, I don't think you're going to slow them down entirely, but if you're able to limit Florida State's production on the ground and make Tate Rodemaker throw some long bombs, maybe force Florida State into some 3rd and 10, some 3rd and longs, you're going to have a really good shot here to be able to pull this game out. And road struggles have plagued Florida State so far this season. Now, it hasn't plagued them in the loss column quite yet, but Florida State does not play as well on the road compared to when they have the game at home in Tallahassee. This is going to be a very competitive, very back and forth game, and I expect Florida to take control for the most part in this game. However, I do believe that Tate Rodemaker is going to be good enough. I believe this Florida State defense is going to be good enough. I believe it's going to force some Gator turnovers, and I believe that Tate Rodemaker, with all the weapons he has, will lead Florida State on a late scoring drive to pull this one out. Florida is going to make Florida State work for this game, but I do believe that Tate Rodemaker is going to be good enough to help the Seminoles win this game. He has enough weapons around him. The Florida State defense forces some turnovers. Florida State gets a late score to help them win this one 28-27 against their rivals in the Swamp. Hey, that's going to do it here for this video. Let me guys know your prediction on this game in the comment section down below. And as always, remember to play hard but tailgate harder. I'll see all you guys tomorrow on Turkey Day with some more preview predictions. Goodbye.